Hello, you are listening to the Gamer Librarian Podcast, the best podcast you can find on this side of the multiverse. I am your host, Adrian, and today I will be talking about Tekken 8, manga, and more. Afterwards, be sure to subscribe to be notified when future episodes are released, and show your support by liking and leaving a comment. Thank you for joining. All right, here we are in 2024. I hope you're all having a good start to the new year. The new year means a lot to different people. New resolutions, new beginnings. That's what 2024 is for me right now, and that starts in a lot of ways. This podcast has started out as a small hobby for me, and I don't plan on giving it up anytime soon. I look forward to putting episodes together and sharing what I've been up to with everyone. It will continue to be a goal of mine these coming months. Otherwise, I'm making an effort to buy a house for me and my girlfriend by the end of the year. A big motivator for that is to just leave our current homes and live together on our own, and we can finally start, maybe building a family. And I'm trying to take up another small hobby, beekeeping. Jersey has some really easy to follow beekeeping laws, and I think it'd be awesome to provide bees and their hives a really safe space to live for themselves. So that's what I'm really looking forward to for 2024 is to have, at least all of that up and running at some point or by the beginning of next year, hopefully. So here's the 2024. Yeah, other than that, I've been playing some tabletop games. Right now, me and my friends, we had our 11th or 12th session of Elder Scrolls, based in the 5e system that D&D uses. I play a monk Khajiit named Jadato. We're right now around level 5, and we have been in Skyrim for the last few sessions, but we're now leaving Skyrim, going south through Citadel's Imperial City and then into Elsewire, the hometown, home country of the Khajiit. And this game has been really fun. I think our DM Matt has been really killing it so far. He makes the Elder Scrolls world come alive, and it feels like it's actually in that universe rather than just based off of like D&D, which is its own setting. So it's really nice and really fresh that he's doing that for us. And I'll be honest, I've been slacking on reading books lately. I've steered more towards manga over the holidays, and I found some really amazing ones on top of catching up on a ton of my favorites. So that's what I really want to talk about. And for those not familiar, manga is Japanese like comics, which is typically the basis for all of the original anime that we see from over there. I prefer manga over anime only because it's the most up-to-date form for a lot of my favorite anime of all time. And on top of just being super convenient to read on my phone most of the time, I prefer to read the manga. There's apps or websites that get the chapters in English or translated to whatever your language would be, um, pretty up to date. I think there's some lag between some um, proper publishing from Japan and over. So, wait time is usually like a day or two for translations, but other than that, you're not waiting a whole lot. So I like to read the manga a little more, especially because it's easy at work. That's super convenient. Um, yeah, one of my favorite ones to read so far has been Dragon Ball. As soon as Dragon Ball Super came out, I've read chapter by chapter as it released. I think Dragon Ball Super is great. Even the arcs after the Tournament of Power are really fun, the Moro and the Cereal arc. Right now, Super just reached chapter 101, which is now like after the superhero movie, the one with Cell Max and Beast Gohan. So we have super like post superhero stuff, a little lore afterwards. You get some cool moments with like the scientist and the bodyguard, I think that made Cell Max. I forget his name, but that means that now chapter 102 is going to be all new original content that we've never seen from Dragon Ball as of now, which I'm excited for because I'm not really a big fan of them adapting the movies into the manga. That just seems to me like a waste of my time and their time to just adapt and do that. But it's kind of like filler, at least, because we already know the story for like the Super movie. Um, that's what I have to say for that. But at the end of this chapter, Goku shows up in front of Beast Gohan for most likely maybe a sparring match that they're going to see who's stronger because father and son, and everyone's thinking who's stronger now, especially because Black Frieza is somewhere out there in the universe doing his thing. And for me, that's what I'm most excited for is Black Frieza stuff, seeing what he's doing. I'm hoping he becomes more of like a real villain. His last movie's motivation, Resurrection of F, where he just wanted to get like taller. Uh, if it wasn't as a big fanboy, I might have been um, a little more annoyed by it, but it's fine. It's a silly movie. I don't really mind. A lot of it gets made up for like in tournament power and everything else like that, and things like villains kind of changing their character. Even though Goku's not really that kind of hero character, that is kind of a little nice. Um, I don't know. I think Frieza's like a more comedy villain than like a true villain. But Frieza still works, and Black Frieza is obviously gonna be really crazy. Hopefully. Um, Top of Dragon Ball, we still have Sparking Zero that's coming out. I think it's slated to come out this year. Sparking Zero is the Budokai Tenkaichi like spiritual successor. Like it's not really Budokai Tenkaichi 4, but it kind of is. Like the way they announced it last year was Budokai Tenkaichi 4, but we're getting Sparking Zero, and that seems really, really amazing. Um, Apparently a whole whopping 160 plus character roster, which is awesome. That's really great, especially considering all of the new characters we've got from Super and maybe even like the card game anime that they have, the promotion anime that they have for that Heroes, I think it's called. So maybe we'll get some like Dragon Ball What If characters even up in there. But yeah, that's Dragon Ball, man. It's just a big party of Gokus and Vegetas just fighting each other, I hope at least the roster of the characters, all the various versions, have different moves for the most part. You know, like base Goku could hopefully play different than Kaioken versus the three Super Saiyans, and then God, obviously GT and all that. So, you know, thinking that this game is going to be, the biggest, hopefully, Dragon Ball game we've had since Xenoverse and Fighters. I think they have a lot of to live up to. But as a fan, it's an immediate purchase. I don't care. We also have Dragon Ball Daigo, which is coming out later this year, I believe. That's the anime where we're not really sure where it takes place in the story, like compared to, I guess, Z and Super. I'm not even sure about that, but it seems like it's another attempt to try and like mass Dragon Ball settings together. Like GT was originally a good, in my opinion, a really good take on Dragon Ball, and then Z. It had like the adventure style of Dragon Ball, looking for the Dark Star balls, and even some really cool moments with a small party of characters. Three characters from Dragon Ball usually, and then the party of three for GT typically. I like that. I thought that was really cute. You got the action from Z, all those cool fights, transformations. The villains were great. GT I think did a lot right in terms of being a Dragon Ball show, even if people give it flack for, in my opinion, no reason. But um, we this seems like the same thing, Dragon Ball Daigo. It's a play on Goku and Vegeta and I think some other characters becoming a child again, very similar to the original story of GT. So we'll see where this goes. All I can say is that I'm gonna watch every episode because I think it's gonna be great, just like GT. But that's just me. Um, so besides Dragon Ball, one of the other long-standing animes that I've been a huge fan of is One Piece. One Piece just had its 1,105th chapter come out recently, and if anyone's caught up, please let me know what you think of so far. If not, maybe skip ahead because we're going to talk about little spoilers just for this because this is a little more up to date. One Piece only comes out every so week and so, and I want to at least talk about a lot of the more modern stuff, get things, a little more caught up for people. So we have a Buster Call going on for the current island Egghead. That's really cool. We've only seen about 3 of those so far. That's wild. Um, and poor Dr. Vegapunk. I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's fine. And, it was also really great seeing the Giants return. Everyone in the One Piece show, and then One Piece manga, they appear for like a bit, a few episodes here and there, or they'll get like a one episode appearance. But one of the great things about One Piece is that characters do always return, and I love that about the series. It's fun seeing characters that we've been seeing for years. Like Vivi from Alabasta. When I first saw her return during, I think you see her before, but like seeing her again at the Reverie was really great. You see a lot of these characters, return again, and you feel like they're just one-stop shops and you never hear from them again, but they're crucial to the story in more ways than one. A lot of side stuff behind the scenes happens, not just to the Straw Hat crew in this story, and I love that. I love that about One Piece. Um, so yeah, they didn't make a One Piece fighting game. That's like Fighters and Marvel vs. Capcom or something like that. That's all I have to say. One Piece is 100% solid. Um, Now, I've also been caught up on the My Hero manga. Big fan of the anime. That's how I first got into it. And then once I caught up on the anime, it was full stop with the manga. Full steam ahead with that. Um, Bakugo is still my favorite character. He just had one of the greatest fights ever. Every fight he's in, he's just being loud and kicking ass. That's all he wants to do, and I love that for him. His fight right now was super legendary, brought tears to my eye. That was really great. And then it was a really good lead up into what is going to be the climax of Deku versus Shigaraki. They're fighting on Mount Fuji right now, which is pretty insane. We've also got trailers for the newest My Hero Season 7 anime and the fourth movie for it. The only thing I could say about the movie is that I hope that it doesn't have any like song montages like the third movie did. I wasn't a big fan of that. That wasn't really my like for me. That really turned me off of the movie. It made it feel long and padded, and I kind of wanted to fall asleep. But My Hero's still kicking strong. The superhero setting is really great. I think the messages that they have are pretty nice with like the ability of like people who get powers and how they use them is just so detrimental to society that like we get this world. But it's cool. The fight scenes are great. I'll always love like superhero stories like that. Um, Now, this brings me up to speed on every manga I've talked about throughout the podcast for a while now. I think there's a few episodes where I talk about some of the chapters I just mentioned, some of the mangas I've mentioned. So right now, it's all new stuff that I've never talked about before. These are mangas that I've started recently since like December or maybe end of November up until right now. And firstly, I read all of Fire Force. If anyone's caught up on that, I read all 304 chapters of Fire Force. This serves as kind of like a prequel to Soul Eater, I suppose. If anybody has any recollection of that anime, I've never read the manga for Soul Eater, but I've seen the anime years ago, like in middle school. So I'm actually really excited to go back and experience Soul Eater again. I plan on doing that in the future. But I caught up on the whole thing, and I loved every chapter. My favorite characters by far were Arthur and Maki. I think that they were really great. I think Arthur's powers were pretty cool. His powers of like belief or like imagination. That was really really nice. Even though it seemed very odd for the setting of the show or the manga, I think that was still really nice. The main character Shinra, he's cool. He has some pretty cool moments. I think a lot of the side characters get some better fights and interactions, but Shinra's catchphrase of being the man, like the I'm gonna do this man kind of thing. He has so many of those catchphrases, but it's so great and hilarious every time I saw them that I just cracked up. Yeah, the entire manga is great, and I'm excited to start the anime once it's closer to being finished and all that at some point. Now, I think I mentioned in this last episode, but I think I was starting Black Clover around this time. But recently I've caught up on all 369 chapters of it. I believe that's right. And that manga has been enthralling to me since the beginning. I mean, the setting was so cool with Asta not having his magic powers and finally getting a grimoire that gives him this busted ass sword, this guts looking sword. Oh, it's so good. Yuno is his like greatest rival and friend. And I think that friendship is really great for this manga because they have the same goal of being Wizard King, and that's just really drives the entire like manga forward is trying to see them do that. Besides that, Mary Leona Vermilion, I think is the English name for her, is my favorite character. I think any fight with her and her fighting spirit is really cool throughout the whole thing. I think her scenes are by far my favorite. Sadly, Black Clover started doing 3 month gaps between its chapters, so I'll just wait patiently until I die for more to come out. But I'm excited. That has been such a fun ride ever since I started doing it or reading that. Really, that was truly fun. I'm gonna be sad if it like ends ever. I'm gonna be really sad. Um, Now, ever since I saw the trailer for the newly announced anime Go-Go Reject Ranger, I jumped on the manga. Power Rangers is my shit, and this is just a more mature anime spin on it. I like it so far, and I've caught up on the 126 chapters that are out right now, and it only has me more excited for the anime. The mystery around the Rangers and the villains is really crazy. Even in the manga, not all the answers behind them are answered so far. I highly recommend this manga for Power Rangers fans because it's really a nice little cool take on it. The Rangers are kind of villains in some light, but you really don't know why or even the full extent of how they're really villains. And the what is like the Power Ranger villains, like the aliens or like the giant monster that they usually fight, they're also like really in depth. They have emotions and like opinions, and there's like a very different divide between these villains and the characters you see in the manga, the rest of the manga, like the Power Rangers and the humans. It's a really cool take on the Power Ranger scene. So if anybody has like any notion to try out this anime or manga, please, I recommend you highly do so. So now we get to the manga that I've been waiting to talk about, honestly, for a month now, ever since I started it, and that's Berserk. Berserk was always something that I liked when I saw the original anime, and I was younger then. That wasn't really like my entire thing at the time. I was much more into like superheroes, Power Rangers, and shit like that. I liked that, but the anime only goes so far. It only shows you so much, and you kind of think like the story kind of ends. And back then, anime almost if they stopped doing any production, they just flat out never get finished. So thankfully that they're still doing the manga now, especially because the writer passed away, and I think his son's doing it. So it's really cool that it's still going on, still kicking, and I had a chance to follow up on it, and I feel like a grown man now. I've learned that I've been in the dark, unknowing to what would truly become my all-time favorite manga of all time. This manga is leagues greater than the current anime adaptations we have. I truly enjoyed every panel and splash page I've seen so far than the anime scenes. The art is just phenomenal and transitions from being some really truly beautiful and peaceful scenes with the characters, which are very rare, that turn into some truly grotesque and creepy monster set pieces and some really intense fights, some of the most intense fights I've ever seen drawn. Right now, I'm only on chapter 295, which is right before the Fantasia arc seems to start, and I expect to be fully caught up by the end of this week. Yes, I fell in love with the manga, and I feel like once I catch up to the whole thing, I'm going to want to start it all over again because it's just that damn cool. Yeah, that was super great. After catching up on Berserk, I'm going to start this manga called Wild Strawberry. So hopefully you'll get to hear me talk about that once I catch up on one of the future episodes. And that's honestly all about manga that I wanted to talk to with so far. Um, Except for that, I continue seeing things online for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like a lot more with all the cool, crazy stand powers and the retcon stuff that they do with the story. I keep seeing like clips of that, and the retcon stuff was always a bit of a turnoff for me to get into it. Now I'm familiar with the material. I've tried reading the first arc of the manga a few years back because some friends have shown me the anime and told me I would like it. And I even tried out the new remastered fighting game, All Star Battle. That came out like last year or so. I might have mentioned it on the podcast. And the entire franchise seems really over the top and convoluted from what I've seen, more than just the manga. But I think I'm going to try and give the manga another shot in the future. It's still going on right now, so I don't really know when it'll be finished or anything like that. And I don't really want to watch the anime right now, so I think the manga is my best bet. And I'm only going to do that if this video receives 100 likes, and I hope you guys will help me do that because, I'd like to meet some cool little goals coming up from this podcast, something to strive for and give you guys like a goal to get me to. But JoJo's manga seems interesting so far, and I definitely want to learn more about it. So spread the word and give this video a like if you want to catch up on the JoJo's mangas with me or see what I think about the various chapters that they have, I think. I don't know what the arcs are called, or the like the different volumes or series. It's a huge franchise from what I've seen. And that's about it for manga. I'm all caught up on that. Haven't really been doing many novel reading or anything like that. Now, I've been doing a lot more of playing video games lately. I've always been doing that. For starters, I blasted through the Tekken 8 story with a pal of mine, Geo. We did Tekken 7 a while back, which was my first ever Tekken game. And since then, I've played Tekken 5, and the two tag games. And so now I think I'm officially a Tekken fan, of course. Um, 8 was so great, honestly. I mean, compared to the story mode that 7 had, 8 is so damn good. It's so great. It's flashy and exciting in most of its parts, and even offers a good variety of characters to play. It has a secret mode that you can play that's kind of like Dynasty Warriors, but Tekken, and that was probably the highlight of the whole game for me and I think us. Um, the ending is also really dramatic, especially with good and bad endings and the possibility tie-in for DLC or Tekken 9 that was kind of teased at the end. And yeah, compared to Tekken 7, it was just a different game. I mean, the pacing is way more intense. Like the fights are actually like flowing from one another in some cohesiveness. It's not narrated to you by like a off-screen narrator who's not really involved in the story for the most part. Um, yeah, I fell in love with the story. That was really enjoyable. That the whole thing. And the arcade endings, like the arcade story endings for the characters, they're also really well done. Most of them have cinematics, and some stills, which are super fun. And they also include a version of Tekken Ball, which was also super fun to play. And I gave the online a few tries, and I've been doing pretty well. Um, for the most part, I kind of think Victor is my favorite character. Um, I switched to using a controller, and I use the triggers for this actually. I use the bumpers for punches and the triggers for kicks, and that's been working out pretty well for me. Um, and honestly, out of the last few fighting games that have come out over this year, um, Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat 1, just to name the biggest that have come out that I've tried. Tekken 8 is by far the funnest and most enjoyable out of the three I've played. I think it's pretty simple. It feels a lot more simple than Tekken 7. When I tried playing that for a while back then, and Street Fighter 6 has always been difficult, and MK1 just uh MK1 just wasn't really for me. I'm not really sure with the online for that. I didn't really click with MK1, but yeah, Tekken 8 is super, super fun, and I'm excited to see all the cool DLC characters that they're going to announce. I'm excited for the three that are currently on the season pass, and obviously everybody's looking forward to what guest characters are going to be in it. Uh, Fingers crossed for Tifa, please. You know, that's probably one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to. Speaking of Tifa, you know, coming up this end of this month on the 29th, I think is when we get um, Final Fantasy Rebirth, the sequel to the remake of the original Final Fantasy VII. Rebirth does I think it takes chapter 2, disc 2 of the original game and makes that into a full-blown remake. I couldn't even begin to talk about like anything involving that game because the story is already so convoluted because of its integration with the remake, the original, and like the Advent Children games and some of the older games from the FF7 franchise specifically. Yeah, Rebirth seems like it's gonna really take this entire series for a loop. You know, if anybody isn't caught up on Final Fantasy VII, please, I recommend you go and try out. The original first. That's my opinion, but sure, if you want to give the remake a shot, you're not gonna get the full story or even like the full experience from the remake because you just won't necessarily know. I think the joy of playing the remake, part of it is seeing the differences between the original. That's kind of part of that charm. Seeing what is kind of the same but has been changed or improved in a lot of ways. I think that's what makes Seven Remake really great. So here's to Rebirth. That is a game I'm playing immediately day one. Absolutely. And I've also been playing Cult of the Lamb. I think I talked about this last year when it came out, and this game only got better because of its DLC since it came out. And I haven't seen everything from it, but I've gotten a decent amount of like the new collectible, consumable item you can get, God Tiers, which unlocks the new stuff, and the new Sin mechanic is really cool, where you cause your little cult follower animals to commit sins like drinking so they fight, or like killing people or having sex, things like that. Um, I thought that's really fun. I wish the DLC added like one or two more hub areas that you could explore, because um, right now I'm playing on my previous save from my first file, and I did all the hub area stuff, so there isn't really much to do around there. And I kind of wish they added more stuff. Maybe I didn't see it yet or unlock it, but um, it seems like even with the base game content completed, you don't need to go back to those areas, so there's no real need to that. But yeah, the DLC brings a slew of new stuff to the game that makes my existing save feel really fresh. And Cult of Lamb is a really fun roguelike that I think everybody should try. Now, there is a new game that is giving Nintendo a run for their money, and I kept seeing all the cool stuff online for this game, so I caved and bought Palworld. Like, I struggle now to decide to play Palworld or Tekken because I love it so much. It fills that Pokemon itch that I've, kind of wanted for so long. Um, it's pretty cool, even if some of the designs are close to Pokemon. The gameplay is pretty crisp, and all the building and leveling is fun. I'm only about level 18 or 19 on my own personal world, and I'm trying to get a new base set up as soon as I have space. But yeah, this game was enthralling from the start. And I'm excited to hopefully see updates for it, like battles and PvP, and maybe going to bigger towns and doing things like gyms or something like that. But yeah, this game scratches that Pokemon itch. It really does. Especially if you like games like Arc or Pokemon Arceus, or in some degree Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. It takes a lot from those three games specifically and just kind of masses them together. So, I think Palworld is really something special. Really, really big fan. Um, Now, to be honest, what can I say about this game that hasn't really been said before? Suicide Squad's Kill the Justice League came out, and I mean, to be honest, the real tragedy is the wasted talent used and it being connected to the Arkham universe. I mean, the fact that it was made by the pedigree of a company that was Rocksteady, who made the Arkham universe what it is, who made the Batman games and subsequently superhero games what they are today, because Spider-Man is a big has a big basis from the Arkham games with his gameplay. So it all connects. Rocksteady really did something really well with their franchise, and goddamn did they not do anything well with Suicide Squad, like it seems like. I'm sure it's fun for some people, but in my opinion, the game's not worth it because of the grindy um, live service kind of feel that it has for it, and the gameplay just kind of seems, you know, like washed up with all the shooting and all that. It doesn't seem like it's for one, like an Arkham game or even a superhero game. I'm not sure, but it doesn't look like it's for me. That's for sure. Now, we did also get Sony's State of Play this year, the first one so far for 2024, and we did only really get some games that were already announced, and I think there were maybe some smaller titles that were new, but State of Play is always their like here's what we're currently working on. See you next year, or it's like see you for the rest of the year kind of thing for what we're gonna have next. And you never really see big surprises like this early in the year until maybe March, April, May. That's when we'll see the big surprises. But it was pretty cool getting the catch up on things like Death Stranding 2, which I'm kind of excited for. I enjoyed the first game, but I don't think the first game really even had enough for me to want to come back to it, and the story definitely didn't really do that for me either. Um, so I'm excited to see what kind of spin Death Stranding 2 has on that gameplay experience that the first game had. Um, there's also announced like an actual, for the first time, a Silent Hill game, like a shadow dropped Silent Hill game came out. Silent Hill: The Short Message, which I think is on at least PS5, it might be on PC, but it's on PS5 is where I got it, and it's like an Outlast um camera style, like stealth survival horror game. It's not super long, and it's also not like super intuitive. It's more or less like a look around, somewhat hide and run when you see the monster kind of experience. But still, it seems like a really cool and thought out modern take on a Silent Hill setting. Even if the gameplay is like, restricted with its kind of faux stealth experience, and it was going for something very specific, being like this game's themes is all around like suicide and things like bullying and like peer pressure, a lot of things like that, and that like over time becomes the Silent Hill world. And I thought that was nice. I actually thought that was a pretty fun experience, even though it wasn't really the Silent Hill game we may have all wanted right now. But Konami did have that big announcement last year with a bunch of Silent Hill games. So this is just the tip of the iceberg for hopefully what's potentially more Silent Hill stuff. We did seek things for Silent Hill 2 remake, and honestly, that didn't look good to me. That didn't look good to me because it didn't really look like a remake. It looked like a remaster. Like it just looked like higher res, probably like more polished, proper controls for Silent Hill 2. That's how the trailer looked to me. So I think I'm going to avoid that. Um, I completely forgot that like Hideo Kojima has a new game he announced, some kind of stealth game. It's a shame that he's not doing any more Metal Gear Solid. It's an absolute shame, but I'm excited for that new Hideo Kojima game. And Dragon's Dogma 2 comes out March. That's an immediate purchase for me as well. The gameplay looks so good, and I'm excited to see all the cool characters that people play and they use for like the Avatar Ghost system. I think they're going to bring that back from the first game, where your friends or other people can make a character and put them online, and you can just download them and put them in your party and use them. And I think that's really cool. That's really awesome. And Dave the Diver is coming out to PS5 with I think a Godzilla like free update or something. Um I just gonna wait for Dave the Diver to hit PS5 and get it probably. That game looks really fun. Yeah, that's about it for all the games that I really want to talk about. I'm excited to see everything that's going to be announced this year, of course. We have some really fun titles that were uh, rebranded or repurchased by some companies, and sadly, we had a bunch of layoffs and a lot of other companies. That's how the gaming industry works. So this is a new year. Everything's going to be exciting and new. So that's what I'm excited to talk about. Hopefully coming up. To wrap this up, I think I'll talk about some of the like shows and TV shows I was catching up on for lately. Um, I'm a big fan of detective shows, like mystery shows, and HBO's, or I guess Max's or whatever. Their True Detective show just got their fourth season. It's like an anthology show. Every season's different, so whole new cast, whole new story every season. There aren't really any connections for the most part, from what I've seen between seasons. So season four just came out, and it's a whole new season set in the northern Arctic, like Alaska, where the setting is like one of those towns where like it's uh, dark, like it's nighttime for 30 days and 30 nights kind of thing, and there's like weird killings happening around the like the Alaskan town, and I'm super enthralled right now. Season or episode four comes out today, and I'm gonna watch that tonight, so I'm pretty excited. So, if you're a fan of True Detective, please let me know what you think of this new season. Is it what you expected from finally a new series of True Detective, or were you kind of hoping for something a little more similar to the first few seasons? Because they're pretty different. Season four takes a very big different turn in terms of its like horror themes. It's pretty different. Uh, yeah, and I've been watching the Yellowstone series. I'm pretty excited for season five, like part two, to come out. I think it's on hiatus, but I started watching this show because a Joe Rogan episode had like I think a guest star from the show or a producer or something on it, and they were talking about how the show gets really authentic with the relationships felt between the settlers and the native tribes and just society at the time, going from the first pilgrims during the 1800s, and then how that kind of those relationships, that experience, and the trials they faced, how that created the space around Oregon and Yellowstone with cattle ranching and the native tribes, and how that kind of makes America what it is today. And there's people trying to not just defend the like land, but buy it out for nefarious purposes and things like that. And it's very real. You know, the issues, at least back then, were super real, and you feel that in the shows for the Yellowstone series. And it only gets, even more intense in the more modern setting of Yellowstone, where that takes place in, the modern like 2020 time or so, and you see how it's very different, but somehow still the same struggles that they're facing from the 1800s to now. Yeah, that was really great. That was actually like one of the big surprise, uh, having them talk about that on the Joe Rogan show, and then you know loving it by the end, really. So yeah, go watch Yellowstone. Go catch up before part two of season 5 comes out. And me and my girlfriend, we've been doing Grey's Anatomy. We're on season 14 now, and we're kind of hitting a lull. Not a lot of the characters that we loved are in the show anymore, and it seems like a lot of the characters that we do like are kind of uh maybe on the outs. So there's new characters that we aren't really fond of. So we don't really know how long we're gonna have for the show anymore. Um, if you've ever watched Grey's Anatomy, did you stop at any point? Or are you like all caught up and watch all the stuff? Because it's good. It's a cool hospital like drama comedy kind of show, but it's getting on now after 14 seasons. Um, Now for shows that about ends it, but I am looking forward to the what is might be the most coveted thing for the Walking Dead fans for a long time, and I mean a long time, ever since Rick first disappeared during season 9 or 10 of the Walking Dead main show, and that's The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Lives. That comes out September, or September. Is it September? I thought it was February. That comes out February, I'm pretty sure. And that is crazy that after so many other Walking Dead shows and so much time with having Andrew Lincoln gone from the main show, that we're finally getting the penultimate like finale for this. I mean, the Walking Dead main show is not the same because of Rick, and I think that was like a really big misstep in that departure. The show, in my opinion, is relatively fine without Rick, but it's the meaning for the show kind of loses it, in my opinion, if you don't have Rick. And it's exciting to see him and Michonne return for this show specifically. And I wonder if things like the Daryl show or the uh, Maggie Negan show, Dead City, will tie in somehow to this. Obviously, World Beyond, it ties in somehow. We've seen that, and I don't think we're gonna get Fear tie-ins. We might not, but this is one of the biggest things to happen for The Walking Dead in quite a long time. Quite a long time. I'm more excited for this than I was for the last two shows. Um, the Negan Maggie one wasn't really good, but the Daryl one was actually pretty lovely. I actually liked that. So I'm here looking forward to The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. That's going to be hopefully a fun experience. It looks like there's really fun like moments in the trailers, so I hope it doesn't disappoint. And that's it for shows. You know, um, I've haven't really watched a whole bunch of movies, but the few I did watch that were good was Saltburn and Godzilla Minus One. Those were really good. Godzilla Minus One I saw in theaters, in subtitles, like Japanese audio. That was great, truly great. Godzilla was, you know, he felt like a force of nature in that movie. Not like something that was there just to be there and cause destruction or fight another monster. No, Godzilla is just there because he has this for some reason he's being harassed by the humans because they're trying to kill him. He's just trying to live on, the various islands and stuff. So you follow this soldier who, after experiencing a Godzilla attack while in the army, he is like refuged in the aftermath of World War II, um, Japan, I think. And you see him struggle to like build a life for himself. Um, After the Godzilla attack, and then Godzilla kind of gets in the way of that again, with some other like you know minor and huge like problems for him and the other main characters. Godzilla isn't the only like big issue for the entire movie, but he is at least like the main set piece. He's yeah, like I said, he's like a force of nature in the movie. He's not even like really a villain. He's just kind of like the thing the movie resolves around, besides the main character, if you know what I mean. That was really great. And then there's Saltburn. Saltburn was really fun. It's a very surprising movie. It has not twists, but it has like um, uh, exceptional humor. It has really good humor about itself. But it just has some moments where you kind of halfway cringe and you're halfway shocked in a lot of ways. I think it was a really great performance um, from a lot of the cast. Apparently, a lot of the scenes were improv, from what I heard. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, go watch Saltburn. It's on Amazon Prime, I think now, and that was really great. That about ends what I want to talk about for the first episode we have for 2024. Really, I think this is gonna be a good year for games. I'm excited to see all the chapters for the newest mangas that may or may not be ending this year. Let's hope not. We got some cool shows going on, and 2024 is, I hopefully it's gonna be a lot better year for a lot of people. So here's looking for that. If you have any game, novel, or other piece of media I should check out, please leave a comment so I can find new experiences and stories.